Do you struggle to write song titles? In this video I will show you 10 different types of titles that you can use in your next song. Song titles are important. They are the first interaction that a listener has with your music. Whether that's online on a streaming service, in a record shop, or announced as "this next song's called" at a live gig. A good title can be the difference between someone listening to your music or not. In an extreme case, it could be the difference between your demo being listened to at a record company and you getting signed or not. This amount of pressure on a few words can give some songwriters title anxiety. The title can be put off, almost as an afterthought at the end of the songwriting process. As a result, a lackluster title can drag down the entire song. But if you reverse the situation and start the songwriting process with a great title, then you set yourself up for the beginning of lyric inspiration. The title can be the seed from which your lyrics are grown, so never underestimate the power of a good title. It can inspire you to write a lyric and complete a song. Indeed, this process of working out from a title is used by a lot of songwriters when lyric writing. A title can stabilise the theme and mood of a song until you get around to writing the whole lyric and music. Having a good title early on when writing a lyric matters, because where the title appears in the lyric has a significant effect on the structure of the song. A title may determine what is the first line of the song, the last line of the verse, or the shape of the chorus. As such, the title will be sung quite a few times during the song and will therefore stick in the listener's minds. You can now see that it is worth keeping a list of potential titles for your songs. You can do this the old-fashioned way with paper or use a notes app on your phone. But what if you don't have any good titles to hand, or feel like you struggle to create interesting titles? Well, you could use any existing titles that you like. Song titles can't be copyrighted and are fair game to be used again. But this isn't always a great idea. If a listener sees the title of a popular song, they will likely be expecting to hear a version of that song, and when they don't, it will usually lead to disappointment. There are a few exceptions to this rule. For example, think of Over the Hills and Far Away, released by Led Zeppelin in 1973, and also by Gary Moore in 1986. The title should indicate what the song is about, its mood or emotion, or something about the central event or story. Occasionally you may want to title a song with a phrase that isn't in the song, but describes what the song is about. If you've written the lyrics first, you can look through your lyrics and choose a phrase that you think would make a good title. If you want some help with lyric themes, then check out our video linked in the description. If nothing stands out, or you want to start with a great title as I mentioned earlier, then the following 10 song title themes will help you. I will show you a selection of title styles and provide a few well-known examples for each. This list is by no means exhaustive, and many titles will straddle several theme categories. I hope you can find some inspiration here. Let's begin. Number 1. Pronouns. These are titles that have I, you, he, she, they, and are in them. They are very popular, especially in commercial songwriting. They immediately establish the presence of people in the song and invite us to identify with them. You can also imagine that you are being addressed by the singer. These titles often reveal what the dynamic in the relationship is in the song itself, so can provide some nice intrigue for the potential listener. Let's look at some examples. Motown songs use this extensively, so think of I Was Made to Love Her, I Know I'm Losing You, You Keep Me Hanging On, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You. The Beatles also use this idea a lot in their earlier songs, such as She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and I Love Her, From Me to You, I Saw Her Standing There. Theme number 2, Conditional. A conditional song title adds a word or phrase which makes the statement depend on something else. This could be a piece of information, an event, a cause, or a fear. These titles exploit words like if, can, can't, don't, just, when, then, after, ain't, be, because, from, here, how, keep, and let. They make the title dynamic because it functions like half of an equation, with the other half implied or stated in the lyric. This creates additional curiosity in the title, often building on the previous pronoun idea. Time for some examples. The Beatles, When I Get Home, Jimi Hendrix, If 6 Was 9, Elvis Presley, I Just Can't Help Believing, Patti Smith, Because the Night, Percy Sledge, When a Man Loves a Woman, and Fleetwood Mac, Don't Stop. Number 3. Titles with verbs. Verbs are action words that describe what the subject is doing. Since verbs denote action, they give a title energy. This covers very general verbs like come, get, give, hold, and run. In these titles, the speaker, or another character, is doing something. The lyric can then develop from this action, describing its cause and consequence. Here are some examples. The Beatles, Ask Me Why, Carry That Weight, Drive My Car, Fixing a Hole. Billy Ocean, Get Out of My Dreams, Get Into My Car. Jackie Edwards / Spencer Davis Group, Keep On Running. Number 4, descriptive titles. Some titles are just plain descriptions. They might be the name of a person, a place, a time, or an event. They are not as dynamic as other titles, though they are usually clear in their meaning. To make them dynamic, or give a hint to the song theme, add a word that suggests a mood, action, or event. A traditional descriptive title might have the word ballad in it to signify a lyric that tells a story. Let's look at a few examples. The Beatles, Birthday, Christmas Time, or Penny Lane. Small Faces, Itchy Coo Park, and The Kinks, Waterloo Sunset. Number 5, opposites. One potent form of title is that which has some kind of opposition. Such a title indicates the lyric may be about conflict and the struggle to bridge the tension between the terms. Pushed far enough, this can lead to outright paradox rather than simple contrast. Some examples include The Beach Boys, Heroes and Villains, Free, Fire and Water, Faces, Glad and Sorry, The Beatles, Hello, Goodbye, and Within You, Without You. Number 6, proposition. A proposition title is one which sets out an idea rather than an action or feeling. Such titles are often versions of proverbs or catchphrases that express current opinion. They may be offered as a corrective or as a consolation. Although the use of you suggests a speaker introducing the idea to an audience, the song might also be addressed to the self. The lyrics should explain the proposition and why it is important to the speaker, usually describing an experience which led to its adoption. Example time. The Doors, People Are Strange. The Rolling Stones, You Can't Always Get What You Want. The Beatles, All You Need Is Love. Number 7, question/interrogative form. A title can invite curiosity if it asks a question, makes a demand, or addresses someone. This one is straightforward enough, but here are some examples. The Beatles, Do You Want to Know a Secret? Travis, Why Does It Always Rain on Me? Buzzcocks, Ever Fallen in Love with Someone You Shouldn't Have? The Clash, Should I Stay or Should I Go? And the Beach Boys, Wouldn't It Be Nice? Number 8, repetition. Many titles use repetition, which helps the title/hook lodge in people's minds. Repetition is rhythmic and well suited to a chorus as it can intensify a word. The most common repetition in a title is where words are repeated twice or 3 times. A pleasing variation is where a word is repeated in a modified form, for example Fleetwood Mac's Dreaming the Dream. This first batch of examples use repetition by 2. The Beatles, She Said, Bob Dylan, Lay Lady Lay, Bob Marley and the Wailers, No Woman No Cry, Smashing Pumpkins, Tonight Tonight, David Bowie, Rebel Rebel, Genesis, Follow You, Follow Me, and ABBA, Knowing Me, Knowing You. Now let's look at a repetition by 3, see how these are often just one word repeated. The Who, and many others, Run Run Run, The Beatles, Long Long Long, James Brown, It's a Man's World, The Beach Boys, Fun Fun Fun, Paul McCartney, Say Say Say. You can even go as far as repetition by 4, such as Casey and the Sunshine Band, Shake Shake Shake, Shake Your Booty. Number 9, alliteration. Titles that repeat a word also feature alliteration. This is an effect caused when words start with similar consonants. Alliteration is a linguistic device valued in poetry because it stresses the sound of words, thus bringing them closer to the condition of music. In moderation, this can be appropriate for a lyric. Examples include The Stone Roses, Song for My Sugar Spun Sister, K.D. Lang, Constant Craving, The Who, You Better You Bet, and AC/DC, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Theme number 10, wordplay titles. Titles that use wordplay can take many forms. Conscious wordplay in titles goes from puns to riddles, non sequiturs, double meanings, incomplete phrases, and variations on catchphrases, all the way to outright paradox. Good title wordplay can be used to tease your audience or mask the full meaning of the song. Let's now look at 3 of these wordplay title ideas in a little more detail. First up is paradox. A paradox is a statement that seems to go against common sense but may still be true. Song titles do not have to be strict paradoxes, but they provoke our curiosity by asking the question, how can that be? In some paradox titles, it is easy to see that there is drama lurking behind the title, which instantly explains the lyrics. For example, Simon and Garfunkel, The Sound of Silence, The Strokes, Alone, Together, Fleetwood Mac, Before the Beginning, Frank Sinatra, Glad to Be Unhappy, Joy Division, Love Will Tear Us Apart. Ambiguity. These titles arouse our curiosity because they don't tell us all we need to know to make sense of them. This creates a desire in the listener to find out the truth behind the title. Some examples of this include The Beatles Love You Too, and I Love Her, and Your Bird Can Sing. That means a lot. Buffalo Springfield, For What It's Worth. Wordplay with common phrases. As the name suggests, you can take a common phrase and provide a twist to create an interesting song title. This does, however, rely on the listener being able to recognise the phrase that is being referenced, or you run the risk of your clever wordplay being for nothing. These are used extensively. Here are a few examples. The Beatles, 8 Days a Week. Stevie Wonder, Yes to Me, Yes to You, Yesterday. Brian Eno, 7 Deadly Fins. Suede, Animal Nitrate. Def Leppard, Armageddon It. And Joan Armatrading, Me, Myself, I. Now you have a song title, write your song lyrics after watching the playlist on screen.